welcome or welcome back to 4F Beauty. When will I be YouTube famous? I don't know. What I do know is my very beautiful sisters from the other misters, the Beauty YouTuber Growth Group, are linked in my description below. And once you've watched this film, it would be awesome if you'd pop over and check out some of their more recent videos. There are an awful lot to choose from, and we are a select group of ladies, all of whom have micro channels compared to the majority of the big beauty gurus on here. But we support each other and we shout each other out in the hope that we can all be YouTube famous at some point. Right, you will have seen the description for today's video. You know what's coming. You know it is the final instalment of the Jaclyn Morphe Vault collection, and it is the Ring the Alarm palette. So, if you want to find out exactly how well that particular palette performed, my friend, you are in just the right place. Grab a drink, grab a snack, put your feet up. Here comes the tutorial. Hey, welcome back from the intro. Final one of these. This is the Ring the Alarm palette, which, as I'm pretty sure we all know, is the red one. So, let's get zoomed in, start putting some of this on this. How's your day been so far? I hope it's been a good one. Or if you're at the start of your day, I hope it's going to be a good one. If you see random bits of glitter, just ignore that. That's from an eyebrow look that I did. Don't ask. Right, my face is washed, moisturised, SPF'd and primed with my usual antiperspirant primer. Facial antiperspirant, I hasten to add. Now, all I've got on my lids is Conceal and Define Concealer, which I've set with Coty Spun. Right, when I look straight ahead, you can see all of my mobile eyelid, which means I don't have a hooded eye. I do have very deep set eyes, which means that the amount of eyelid you can see here, I've got exactly the same amount again that tucks back in. So I do have the issue of shimmers and stuff transferring onto the upper lid, but when my eyes are open you don't really notice it, so I don't bother with glitter glues or anything, just in case you're wondering. But if you don't see all of your mobile lid, you've either got a full or a half hooded lid, or what's known as a mono lid or an Asian eyelid. You can still follow my tutorials. When I lay my crease colour down, I'm literally going to follow the bone here, the socket, and use that as my guide. If you need to create your own crease with your eyes open, get a flat top brush, something like this, and just sketch out where you will need your crease to fall. Now obviously that's going to reduce the amount of space you've got between your crease colour and your brow. So two things we can do about this. One, raise your eyebrows. You'll be surprised just how much extra space that gives you. The other thing I'm going to talk about is brushes. Now these are clean, they are just stained from a very pigmented eyeshadow palette that I've got. I'm going to be using these two brushes. I'm going to be starting with this one, which you can see is a really soft, loosely packed buffing brush, blending brush, but it's got a wide head on it. And then I'm going to come down to this one, which is still loosely packed, still good for blending, but it's much narrower here. Now, what I suggest you do, if you've got either low eyebrows or you've had to raise your crease for whatever reason, and you've got less space here to play with, instead of starting with this big fluffy brush, start with this one. And when I move to this one, you need to go to something like this. Now, I know it looks like a pencil brush, but it isn't. Pencil brushes are much more densely packed, as you can see. This is still loosely packed for blending, but it comes right up to a point, and it's the tapered crease brush. This particular one is from Coastal Scents, so that is my recommendation to you. Right, let's get some of these colours onto my eyes. Now, this should be the palette that performs the best, because browns are the easiest colour to create, and a lot of these brown, well, orangey brown, brown, orangey brown, red, and then, you know, your shimmers. So, you know, this one here is like a burgundy brown, but it is still brown based. So, shall we just see how well this performs? Right, I'm going to start, this is probably going to be the blandest look you're ever going to see on my channel. I've got my colour switch here for changing colours and for tapping off into. This is not a Veromona one, it's a Manga one. It cost me about £4 on eBay. If you haven't got one of those, you can use a microfiber cloth, you can use a face cloth, or, you know, washcloth flannel, or just a towel. Just, I occasionally even use, if the shorts I'm wearing are due to go into the wash tonight, then I will occasionally just buff the excess off on my shorts, because I'm a little bit ratchet like that sometimes. Right. Let's go in with Alert, which is this orangey one here. It looks orange in my viewfinder, but in the palette it does look like an orangey brown. It doesn't look as vibrant and orange as it does on the viewfinder. I think you can see there now that does look more muted now it's on the actual thing. Right, now to start off with, to lay our crease line down, we're going to do windscreen wipers. You always start off at the outside edge, because if you haven't tapped off or you suddenly get a blop full of pigment, it's much easier to blend it out this side than it is over here where you've got your nose and everything to worry about. So, placing it at the outside edge and then running it backwards and forwards in a windscreen wiper movement. As I said, I'm following my eye socket. You need to follow whatever your crease line is best for your eye. Okay. Then I'm going to go back in and pick up the loose powder that was, because all of these kick up a fair amount, but it's fine because you can just go in, pick up the excess and use it, so you don't end up wasting any. It's absolutely fine. Now, because I'm 44, the skin on my eyelids is not as elastic as it used to be, and because I'm blind in this eye got pulled around an awful lot of the ophthalmic. You can see I've got really deep permanent creasing here. With this eye, the technique I'm about to show you still doesn't cover all of the lid, so I do actually have to gently stretch this lid out. And also because I've lost 10, 11 stone over the last few years, so you don't have to be any 40s to have slightly less taut skin on your eyelids, shall we say. But the way that I've found best and most effective at getting colour onto your eyes, hold your brush right at the end. I do this with all of mine because then you put as little pressure as possible on the eye. And we're going to do little tiny circular movements, just following that line that we've laid down across to the middle. And when we get to the middle, without lifting our brush off our skin, we're just going to move it up slightly, reverse the direction, and come back again. And if I slow down, you can see it actually really gently moves your skin around so that it actually covers it all. And I can actually, because I've got deep set eyes, I can go up again and come back for a third row. And I very often struggle getting pigment to stick here and here because of different creasing issues that I have. So I'm just going to add a tad more pigment to this point here and give it a bit of a buff. I'm not overly worried about this bit down here for the moment because obviously I'm going to be adding darker colours on, so it really is just this top edge I'm worried about at the moment. So, you know, you do this and you get it to the sort of depth of colour that you want, which I think I'm happy with this actually. I don't think I want to pack any more on. And then what we do, to make sure we've absolutely covered everywhere and we haven't got any white parts to belie our age, we're going to go back to windscreen wipers, but we're going to do little tiny ones up and down this time instead of going across. So little tiny windscreen wipers up and down, overlapping each column as we move up and down the eye, just to really softly blend that out. And then I normally like to finish off with a mixture of windscreen wipers and twirly whirlies, just to make sure that all of the eye is covered. Now you might notice I've left a strip here. I always leave about 4 or 5 mils from the lowest part of my brow. That's more youthful because carrying the colour up to your brow totally is very 1980s, very early 1990s. So it does date your makeup. And also, if we're going to be putting a brow highlight in, it's nice to have just a patch of matte skin without any colour on at all to really differentiate between the eyeshadow that we've put down and the highlight colour we are applying. Right, now I'm going to repeat this with the other eye. Now I do all my blending actual time, I don't speed it up, I don't do any of it off camera. I want you to see exactly how easy or difficult these shadows are to blend. And because of my fibro and the chronic pain that I'm in, I can't actually put makeup on as quickly as a lot of people can. So if you are someone who is expert at this and can blend much quicker than I will not be offended if you speed me up. In fact, I recommend that you do so. I will of course sound a little bit like a chipmunk, but that would at least send you out of the house with a smile on your face, hopefully. Right, so again I've picked up the kick up, I've tapped off, and now we're going to do windscreen wipers this side. I do tend to get more fallout from this side because, as I said, where this got pulled around a lot, the skin on this side is a lot looser than the skin on my right eye. Now sometimes this circular movement will work. A lot of the time I'm left with like barcoding down here, so let's just have a, yeah, you can just see here I've still got some creasing there that I just need to give a very gentle buff to. Do not stretch your eye out like this unless you already have the same issue as me, otherwise you will give yourself the same issue as me, and I can assure you that these creases will only get deeper and deeper and more annoying as you get older. As before, I'm popping a little bit of extra pigment just on this upper corner because of the creasing that I have there. I have this issue with really high quality palettes as well as the more cost effective ones like your Morphes and your Makeup Revs. So, but you know, you can be assured that you always get my honest opinion, please or offend. It's probably why I'm not on very many PR lists, if any. I think probably the only PR I've had was when I got made a Gerard Cosmetics affiliate, and they gave me a store credit to buy some bits of my choice, which the film for that went up, I think last week or the week before. I've got quite a few discount codes though, the majority of which are non-affiliated. They're all listed in the description box below, and it states whether they are affiliated or not. If they're not affiliated, I don't earn money from them effectively. It's literally just a discount code for you that you can take the benefit of. And I'll be honest, when I'm ordering from those companies, I use my discount code as well. I've got a couple of affiliated ones, but I don't make mega bucks from it. In fact, the two affiliated codes that I've got, I don't think I'm anywhere near the sort of, I think it's normally sort of like 25, 30 quid or 30 bucks, whatever, before you can actually withdraw. And I'm nowhere near close to that because it literally is a very, very small commission that you receive. I mean, don't get me wrong, I appreciate it, but it's probably going to take me a hell of time to earn anything decent out of it. But it's more important for me that you have discount codes that save you money, because, you know, prices on everything keep going up, so if I can save you some money somehow, somewhere, then I will do. And while I've been blethering on, you can see I've kind of gone a little bit heavier this side. I do this a lot, so I just need to just darken this inner corner up here, just so that it matches really. This is one of the problems of being blind in one eye. I do sometimes go heavier with one eye than the other, and then I sit back and look at it and go, oh, I need to tidy this one up. That's why sometimes I end up with Amy Winehouse wings rather than my usual nice delicate little flicks. I have got a tutorial on, a mini tutorial on doing wing liner if you want to see that. And on that one I actually have sensible size wings, not Amy Winehouse's. Right, okay, I think I'm happy with that now. So I'm going to clean the colour off the brush. I'm still using the same one, big fluffy one, or if you started with the smaller one, still use that one. And I think I'm going to go into, so there's two sort of chocolatey browns. There's Siren here, and then there's Secret here, but Siren has actually, I don't know if you can actually see it, but it's actually got some shimmer in it. I'm not sure if that actually shows up or not. Yes, as you can see, it's finally, my nail has finally grown up enough that you're not actually seeing the nail bed anymore. So it's coming back. It's on its way. Getting my nails done later on this week, so fingers crossed. I should have a full set again, which would be nice. Right. So I am going to go into, I think I'm going to go in, I'm going to go into Mugshot, which is this sort of caramelly brown. Which is actually a really pretty colour. Oh, this one's dusty, this one kicks up an awful lot. So I'm going to start off doing the same as before, just running the windscreen wiper through my socket or wherever your crease needs to be, remember. And then I'm going to go back in and pick up the Kick Up, which makes you think of Kick the Dust Up by Luke Bryan. Kick the dust up. Sorry, I'm having a moment. What I'm going to do this time, now last time we blended and then we went up, we're not going to go up. We're still going to change the direction of the brushes each time, but we're not going to go up the eye. So we're going to start off here, keeping the bottom layer of bristles touching that crease line that we've already put down. And we're going to do tiny little circles all the way across, and then reverse the direction, still keeping in contact with that bottom line, and coming all the way back again. And we're going to repeat this a couple of times to just build up that depth of that caramel over that orange. pick up a wee bit more pigment actually. I mean, you can see these are blending out okay. I'm not having any major issues with them. I have got the palettes that are marked V2. If that, you know, I'm still sort of not sure whether that actually does mean version 2 or not. I mean, you can see that has made a difference between the two eyes. I'm just taking the pigment off of the brush. I'm just going to really gently do little tiny circles just where those two colours meet. I'm going to pick up a little bit of Alert again, that orange, and then just use that while I'm buffing along that line, just to make sure we don't lose any of that orange while I'm blending the caramelly brown. Just to get a nice seamless blend, as John McClane would say. Yeah, I like that. Alright, back into Mugshot. And we're going to do the same with our other eye. Oh dear, are you set for Christmas yet? Got most of the Christmas shopping done, most of which I will admit I've done online because chronic pain and crowds at Christmas and queuing up to pay for things, not a good combination. Got loads of wrapping paper and Christmas cards yesterday, so I'm going to go and do some editing, and then while the films are exporting I can be writing Christmas cards out. Hubby's got his day off tomorrow, so we can start wrapping presents up, which is awesome. I can then work out what we still need to buy. I think we've got most of it done. So I do need to get something for my little nephew, which I'll probably end up getting him clothes, because I know he's got lots and lots and lots of different toys and things. So I'll probably end up getting him something funky to wear from Auntie Ange. My godkids are all done. Actually, 4 of them are done. I've got to do the 5th one. Got to do the Badger family, which is increased by 1. Because Badger and Mama Badger have just had their latest little arrival, so he now has 2 little girly badger babies, which is awesome. God help them when they start bringing boyfriends or girlfriends home. So he's going to be the epitome of the dad standing there going, "And what are your intentions towards my daughter?" Right, cleaning that brush off, and I'm going to move down to the smaller brush, if I can find where I put it. There we go. If you started with this one, now's the time to go down to that tapered crease brush, and I'm going to go in. I am going to go into Secret, which is the chocolate brown. This one's not kicking up quite as much, but it is picking up quite well. What we're going to start off doing with this one, we're just going to stamp a little bit of this pigment just on the outside third of our mobile lid. Just to deepen that corner up and give it a little bit of a blend. Very, very gentle blend at this point. And then I'm going to pick up some more of this beautiful chocolate brown, this. And then I'm just going to run that through the crease line, as we did with the previous 2 colours. But the difference this time is that when we blend along this line, we're not going to be above the line at all, because before we were like this here. This time we're going to be absolutely on the line itself, and just very, very tiniest circles you can manage, because all we're wanting to do is just soften the edges of that line we've put down. We don't want to block out either of the previous two colours. We still want to be able to see the chocolate brown, the caramel, and the orange. And I've got to be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed with this chocolate brown. It's not blending as well. I mean, I know deeper colours, because they have more pigment molecules in them, obviously, do take a little bit more work to blend out. This is really, it's not I mean, browns are the easiest colours to blend as well. So the fact that I'm struggling so much with this is a bit of a concern, but with patience you can actually manage to get it. This is the problem, a lot of people now just want stuff to blend like that, and you can't always do that. Sometimes with these cheaper palettes, you know, you are going to have to work that little bit harder. I think the problem was because the previous Jaclyn Hill palette, you know, the big 35 one in the white packaging, was so buttery and blended so well. I think people were, where she said that these were colours that had been cultivated for that but were like leftovers and didn't actually go into the 35 pan. I think people were expecting these to be the same formula, and they're really not. These are more like your standard Morphe shadows, the kind of things you'd see in like the 35 or I've got the 12Z somewhere. And this is very much like the original. You can really see the tiger striping there now, look. You know, this is very much like the original Morphe shadows. They do take a bit of patience and a bit of time to blend. They're not going to be as beautifully buttery as her first one, which does kind of make a mockery of the, oh, these are exactly the same as my 35 pan, they're just colours that didn't make it first time round. No, they're not, because I had her 35 pan. I actually gave it to Sophie, the girl that does my nails, because it was like basically 31 shades like that, 2 blues, a green and a purple. So it just wasn't varied enough for me. I just ended up giving it to her. So I have actually used that palette, and I know how buttery that palette is and how well that blends. And these shadows do not blend in the same way, but with a bit of patience they will blend, as you can see. It's just, if you're expecting that beautiful formula from her previous palette, you are going to be disappointed, which is a shame, because the previous palette was beautiful quality. Right, I'm just going to show you the shimmer options for this palette. We got this rose gold called Lolly. We got this bright gold called On Camera. A bronzy one called Boom, and this red one called Bomb Ass. Which, if I just, and bearing in mind there is no primer or anything on my hand, that's how they actually appear. Now, as you can see, the first three look really nice. That red one doesn't look as great. So because I want to show you what this this palette is genuinely like, I am going to use two different shades. So I'm going to get, this is my Spectrum A16, it's a nice narrow flat packer brush. This is a So Eco brush. I would tell you what the So Eco one's called, but I've had it so long and washed it so many times the name's come off. As you know, I always apply my pigments wet, so I'm going to go in with this Obsession Pigment Boost. You don't have to use this, you can use a moisturising spray like Mario Badescu or MAC Fix Plus. You can use a priming spray, you can use a setting spray, you can even use clean water. What you mustn't ever do is go into a packed pigment with a wet brush, because that will give you hard pan. Just to give you a heads up. So, I'm going to go into Lolly, which is the rose gold, pack some pigment on this little brush and wet it. And I always dry the ferrule off so that there's not much moisture around the base of those bristles. And I'm just going to pop this on the inner corner of my lid. Which, as you can see, is quite a pretty colour. Obviously you can apply these with your finger if you want, but I don't want to poke my eyeballs out. Plus, I don't like applying makeup with my fingers anymore. Right, to make sure that we don't go with a wet brush, I'm just going to clean all the pigment off of this brush and then dry it off on my hand to make sure it's absolutely dry before I go back into the palette. So, again, pack some Lolly on and moisten it. Now this one I do have to pull my lid out slightly, otherwise it does just get stuck in those creases and then crumbles. So, just bring that one out as well. I mean, you can see these are actually pigmented enough to cover that deeper matte shade that we had there. So you can see that one, and in fact all of these shimmers on the top row behave like that one did. Now let's try Bomb Ass on this wider brush. So we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to pack the pigment on, wet the brush, and just pop this in the centre and kind of slope it down to the outside corner so we still see some of that dark chocolate brown. When I say dark, deeper chocolate brown. And then I'm just going to flip this over so that it's the non-pigmented side. And very gently just buff that rose gold over into the red one. Now I think you can see the rose gold has got a lot of reflect to it, but Bomb Ass doesn't look as reflective. It doesn't have the same, it's more of a satin than a shimmer. Again, dry it off on my hand, which is a shame because this could have been such a beautiful, beautiful colour. I'll do the same this side. I mean, you can see it's beautifully pigmented. I just wish it were a bit more reflective and more like the other shimmers. I mean, you can see in comparison that actually looks quite dull. Just going to grab a wee bit of that lolly, just buff over there a little bit. I mean, I think you can see the difference between the two when it actually comes to how bright and... Because let's face it, if we're going to put a colour like that on our lid, we want it to actually have some impact. And it's got impact, it just doesn't have the shine that I was hoping for. I mean, I've got a really lovely... This is a Foira shadow. Just want to show you. This is shade 109 Rose, and it's very similar to the Colourpop Super Shock shadows. So I just want to show you the difference on the back of my hand. Just look at how reflective that is and compare that to what's on my eye. This is what I wanted from that palette. I didn't get it, which I'm not very happy about, I've got to be honest. It's a bomb-ass colour, but it sure as heck doesn't have... I mean, look at that, look how that reflects the light. And now look at that one. There's just no comparison. And that Foira shadow was, I think, 99p. So it's not that I've used a really expensive shade in comparison. You know, even if it had been a Colourpop one, it still wouldn't be expensive. But the Foira ones are the cheaper version of the Colourpop Super Shock shadows. They have fewer colours available, but they behave in the same way in that you can't really depot them because they just dry out and go awful. But I mean, you can see the difference. It's just such a shame. Right. Having blethered at you, I'm going to pause you, bung some foundation and stuff on. I'll be back to finish off the under eye and with my final thoughts. Hey, I'm back. As you can see, rest of face is done. I used the Lacura or the Aldi bronzer, which is the Hula dupe. I also used the blush from there, which is the NARS Orgasm dupe. Highlight is the Gerard Cosmetics in Audrey, which I really, really love, and I should use this more often. Discount code for Gerard and link to the site in my description box. Lip gloss is the Lime Crime Wet Cherry in shade Maraschino Cherry. I feel like I should be talking like this. I kind of feel like Betty Boop with... Right, enough silliness. Let's get zoomed in and finish off the under eyes. Hello. Right, going in with a nice flat top brush like this, I am going to pick up I'm going to go for Framed, which is the burgundy brown that we've not used yet. And I'm just going to very gently smudge that right up under the lash line, not quite going as far as the highlight that I've carried down. About 2/3 of the way along, roughly. I always flinch this side because I usually end up at some point poking myself in the eye because I have to rely on the viewfinder and muscle memory because obviously I haven't got any peripheral vision this side. And then I've got another flat topped brush, but this one's a bit chunkier. It's great for blending out. I'm actually going to go in to Rush, which is the lightest shade in the palette, and just pick some of that up just on the very tip of the bristles. Very gently, just smudge that all the way along to soften that deeper line and to sort of link up with the orange that we used as our first colour. Told you I usually end up poking myself in the eye. Yay. Oh, someone doesn't sound happy. Do you get one of those days when your brush just won't go back into the brush holder? That's me today. Mascara that I've used is the Wet n Wild Lash Renegade with a little bubble on the end, because I like using the bubble for the lower lashes. I think it really separates them nicely without overloading them with mascara, as I think you can see. Right, let's zoom back out again. Okay, so what do I think of Ring the Alarm? Of the 4 palettes in the vault, it's my least favourite. Probably because I prefer less muted or neutral colours, because this is very much the kind of warm neutral palettes that have been out ever since Modern Renaissance hit, really. You know, it's oranges, it's warm browns, it's chocolate browns. I wish the red had more impact. I wish it was as shiny as my lips. But I mean, the fact that that faux era shadow gave a better quality finish than this did. Okay, you could say, well, the faux era is a cream shadow and this is powder. Yeah, okay, I'll get blood sugar out then, shall I? Because that's got some awesome red shimmers in it, which actually reflect. I mean, this is by far the most disappointing of the 4. It's almost like, because they know browns and stuff blend out well, it's like they didn't even try with the formula of this. This should have been the best performing palette of the 4, and it's not. Which really surprises me. I mean, is it an okay palette? Yeah. Can you get a look out of it? Yeah. Can you get very varied looks out of it? Not really. you know, you're going to end up with looks that are very, very similar. You know, I've used these palettes now. Probably I've had these now probably about 5-6 weeks, and I've been using them, you know, when I'm not filming and everything, and in between stuff, and it's just, I'm really disappointed by this particular palette. Do I think the box set is worth it? I think it depends very much on you. I mean, my other 3 films are already live, and you can see that actually Dark Magic and Bling Boss actually performed really quite well. Armed and Gorgeous, very much like Ring the Alarm, was a lot more disappointing. So, would I buy the Vault? Probably not. Would I buy any of the palettes out of it? Yeah, I might buy Dark Magic and I might buy Bling Boss. But you know, they do blend, but they take a bit of work. So if you're expecting them to be like her original formula, you're going to be in for a disappointment. If you go into it expecting them to be standard Morphe shadows, then yeah, you'll be happy enough with them. So, I hope that's been helpful for you. If it has, it'd be awesome if you could hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe. When you subscribe, don't forget to ring my bell, and choose all notifications so that you get told every time that I upload another one of these videos. Talking another one of these videos, the other 3 of these are live if you haven't watched those already. If you have watched those, are you sure you've seen all of my recent videos? Why not have a look at some of the playlists and see if there's anything in there that you have missed. And once you've watched mine, my beautiful ladies from the Beauty YouTuber Growth Group are listed in my description, and it would be awesome if you could pop over and take a look at some of their most recent offerings. Right, all that remains for me to say, as ever, is you'll stay fabulous, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.